Let me tell you, you ever had one of those nights where the world just feels too cold, too indifferent, like everyone's just trying to get through and hoping nobody notices their struggles? That was the mood in the emergency room that winter. Cold enough outside to freeze your breath to the glass, but somehow, inside, the chill was even sharper, all fluorescent lights and tired eyes. I was there, pushing a mop, keeping my head down, because that's what I did, what I'd done for years, blending into the background, wearing the same faded janitor's uniform with my name tag barely hanging on. Folks hardly said my name. Mostly it was, "Hey man," or just a look, if that. And sure, I got used to it. The side glances, the way people clutched their purses tighter when I passed, the way my skin seemed to make me invisible or worse, an easy target for folks' silent judgments. You know what I mean? Yeah, that happened. Anyway, that night, the ER was buzzing like it always did, stretchers rolling, nurses yelling, people slumped in chairs staring holes in their phones or coughing into the crook of their arms. But over by the payment desk, I caught something different. A woman, no older than 30, jacket thin as tissue, standing with her phone in one hand, her wallet in the other, her face just crumpling under the weight of the world. Her little boy was back in the ward, fighting for his life, and the clerk behind the glass was giving her that look, the one that says, "Sorry, can't help unless you've got cash." She was pleading, her voice cracking, saying, "Please, my son, I don't have the money yet, can't you?" And the clerk just shook his head, already bored, already moving on. I watched the whole thing. Nobody else did. Some folks looked away, some pretended not to hear, some judged her, judged me, too, probably. But it hit me in a way I can't explain. Maybe it was the way she shook, or maybe I just remembered what it was like to be helpless, standing in a hospital, hoping for a miracle. My wife died years back, giving birth to a child who never took a breath, and since then, it's just been me, working nights, barely scraping by. But that night, standing in that room, it didn't matter. I reached in my pocket. Those crumpled bills I'd been saving, skipping lunches, walking to work instead of taking the bus, just trying to get through another week. And I walked up to that desk, slid the money under the glass, and told the clerk, "Here. This'll cover it." Didn't wait for a thank you. Didn't even look her in the eye. Just turned and walked out into the freezing morning, the hospital doors hissing closed behind me, her voice chasing me into the dark, breathless and grateful. I disappeared into the mist, and that was that. Years rolled by, like they do, and the city changed. Glass towers rose where old diners used to be, and I wound up working security at one of those places, or Iron Tech, they called it. You ever seen a place so polished it makes you want to straighten your own back just to fit in? That was Orion. All marble floors, big glass doors, people walking around like they owned the sky. But me, I was still the background, the security guy by the entrance, nodding at folks who never nodded back. But there was one guy who did see me, even if he didn't know it at first. Ethan Collins, the CEO, sharp suit, young but with the kind of eyes that have seen more than they let on. He'd glance my way sometimes, give me a half smile, call me by name, which already set him apart. Most people just handed me their trash or brushed past like I was part of the furniture. But Ethan, he'd stop and ask if I wanted a coffee, even if I said no more than yes. He was different, though he probably didn't realize how much. Point one morning, he comes up and says, "Hey Marcus, let me buy you a cup." I almost said no, old habits, but something in his face softened my edges. So we sat, looking out the tall windows at the city traffic, sipping coffee neither of us liked much. He asked me about my life, how long I'd been working there, if people treated me different. I laughed. "What else do you do?" Told him, "Son, I've been treated different my whole life. It's not this place. It's the world. But these places, they just polish it up better." He nodded, jaw clenched, and I could see the wheels turning. Maybe he was thinking of his mother. Maybe he just hated how ugly the world can get. He asked if I had family. I told him had. Lost him a long time ago. He opened up then, shared how he'd lost his dad before he was born, how someone had once saved his life when his mother couldn't pay his hospital bill. Some kind man, no name, just kindness, he said. I felt my heart squeeze. Could it be? But 20 years is a long time. Faces change. Memories lie. I let it go. But fate, it's got a wicked sense of timing. A few weeks later, tension was running wild at Orion Tech. The Phoenix Project, the company's big make-or-break product, was about to launch, and everyone was on edge, working late, pulling overtime, whispering about investors and IPOs. My job was the same as ever. Keep the place safe, keep the wheels turning, no matter who noticed. But that night, something felt off. The loading bay door was cracked open, light leaking where it shouldn't. I checked the warehouse, found a crate open, the contents not quite right. Fake devices, serial numbers scratched off, all too obvious for anyone with eyes. Then I heard voices, two guys talking about sabotaging the shipment, slipping in counterfeits, crashing the whole project, ruining Ethan's name, taking down the company that I didn't freeze. Couldn't. Not when I'd seen that kind of calculated evil before. I moved fast, headed for the elevators, heart pounding, knowing I had to warn Ethan. Got stopped by those same two, pretending to be maintenance. They called me Pops, tried to block my way. But I wasn't about to let them win. Not after everything I'd seen, everything I'd survived. So I fought, flashlight in hand, adrenaline burning out the years, landed a punch, broke away, and sprinted for the executive floor. Burst into the boardroom, out of breath, just as Ethan was about to speak to his executives, and I shouted, "It's a setup, counterfeits in the warehouse. You've got rats in the building." Everything went crazy then. Real security rushed in. The imposters were restrained, Ethan barking orders, locking down the building. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a shadow. I felt seen. The trial after, that was something else. Reporters everywhere, lawyers in $1,000 suits, people ready to tear Ethan and Orion Tech apart for the smallest mistake. But the evidence was solid: records, surveillance, whistleblowers, and my word. When I took the stand, I felt those same stares, some skeptical, some just dismissive. They tried to rattle me, asked about my education, my background, like being a janitor or security guard made me less credible. But I stared back and told them, I don't wear a suit, but I know the smell of a lie when I'm standing in it. The jury listened. Silvercore, the rival company, went down, guilty of fraud, sabotage, the works. Orion survived. Ethan's name was cleared. But what mattered most happened on those courthouse steps, after the cameras stopped flashing that Ethan's mother was waiting, her eyes full of memories, seeing not just me, but the past I carried. She walked up, voice trembling, and said, "It's you. You're the man who saved my son." For a moment, the whole world stopped. Ethan looked at us, understanding dawning like the sunrise, his mother's story, my face, the pieces finally fitting together. I was the man who paid that bill, who slipped away into the winter, never expecting thanks. Since then, life's changed. We sit together sometimes, Ethan, his mother, and me, at the park under the old oak, watching kids play soccer, letting the sunlight chase away old ghosts. I never thought I'd have this, a family not made of blood, but of choices, of people who showed up when it mattered. Ethan asked me once, "You ever think we'd end up here?" I laughed. Life's got a strange sense of humor. Now, if you're still listening, here's what I want to know. What do you think makes a family? Is it blood? Is it kindness? Is it showing up when the world's looking the other way? Tell me in the comments below, because sometimes the quietest acts change the most lives, and sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who save us when it matters most. Hit like, subscribe, turn on the bell, because every story, even the quiet ones, deserves to be heard.